I was 71 years old when I saw the positive pregnancy test sitting on my bathroom sink. And for a moment, I genuinely thought I had finally lost my mind. Before I continue, take a second to like this video and comment where you're watching from. My hands were shaking so badly I had to grip the edge of the counter just to stay upright. The 2 pink lines didn't disappear. They didn't fade. They just sat there, bold and undeniable, like they were mocking everything I thought I knew about my own body. I remember whispering out loud, "That's not possible. That's just not possible." At my age. After everything I'd been through. After menopause decades ago. Well, there had to be some mistake. Maybe the test was expired. Maybe I grabbed the wrong one. Maybe it was some kind of medical issue. A tumor or hormone imbalance. Anything but this. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. Wrinkled skin, gray hair pulled into a loose bun. Eyes that had seen far too much life to be dealing with something like this again. I looked like someone's grandmother. Because I was. I had 2 grandkids I babysat every other weekend. And yet there I was, standing in my quiet little house in Ohio, holding a pregnancy test like a terrified teenager. I didn't tell anyone that day. I just sat on my couch for hours, staring at the wall, replaying the last few months over and over in my head like a broken tape. Trying to find the moment. The mistake. The explanation. And then it hit me. The heater repairman. His name was Daniel. Or at least that's what he told me. He showed up in the middle of January, right when the cold snap hit. My old heater had given out in the middle of the night, and I woke up to a house that felt like a freezer. I remember wrapping myself in 3 blankets and calling the emergency repair number with fingers so numb I could barely dial. They said someone would be there within the hour. That someone was him. When I opened the door, I expected an older man, maybe tired and quiet like most repairmen I'd dealt with over the years. But Daniel, he was different. He looked to be in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. Tall, broad shoulders, dark hair tucked under a worn baseball cap. He had that kind of calm confidence about him. The kind that made you feel like everything was going to be okay the moment he stepped inside. "Ma'am, you must be freezing," he said with a small smile. His breath visible in the cold air. His voice was warm, gentle. I nodded, pulling my cardigan tighter around me. It gave out sometime during the night. "Don't worry," he said. "I'll take care of it." And he did. Least at first. He worked for about an hour down in the basement while I made coffee upstairs. I don't know why I felt the need to make him coffee. It's not like that was my job. But something about him made me want to be hospitable. Maybe it was just loneliness. Maybe it was the way he spoke to me like I wasn't invisible. When he came back upstairs, his hands were dirty with grease, and there was a smudge on his cheek. "All set," he said. "Heat should be kicking back in any minute." I handed him the mug. "Thank you. I really appreciate you coming out so early." He took the coffee, and for a moment our fingers brushed. It was such a small thing. But I felt it. Spark. And I hated myself for noticing. At my age, you're not supposed to feel things like that anymore. At least, that's what people expect. Your life is supposed to be behind you. Your story already written. But mine didn't feel finished. Not even close. We talked for a few minutes after that. Nothing unusual, just small talk. He asked if I lived alone. I told him I'd been widowed for almost 10 years. He nodded in that quiet, understanding way, like he didn't pity me. Just acknowledged it. Before he left, he said something that stuck with me. "If you have any more trouble with the heater, just call me directly. I'll make sure you're taken care of." He scribbled his number on the back of the receipt. I should have thrown that receipt away. I should have never called him again. But a week later, I did. And that's where everything started to change. It wasn't even a real emergency. The heater was making a strange noise. Probably nothing serious, but I used it as an excuse. I told myself it was practical. Safer to have it checked. But deep down, I knew the truth. I just wanted to see him again. When he came back, he didn't act surprised. "Thought I might hear from you," he said with a half smile. This time he stayed longer. Way longer than necessary. The heater wasn't the problem anymore. We talked in the kitchen. About life. About loss. About the strange, quiet loneliness that creeps in when the world starts moving on without you. I told him things I hadn't told anyone in years. About my husband. About how empty the house felt at night. About how sometimes I'd go days without speaking to another person. And he listened. Really listened. Not like my kids who were always busy. Not like the neighbors who just waved from a distance. He looked at me like I mattered. Like I was still a woman. Not just someone's mother. Or someone's grandmother. For me. I don't know exactly when it crossed the line. I just know it did. It was late afternoon when it happened. The light coming through the window had that soft golden glow, and the house was finally warm again. We were standing too close, talking too quietly, and then he touched my hand. This time he didn't pull away. Neither did I. I remember my heart racing in a way I hadn't felt in decades. It was terrifying, and exciting, and wrong. So wrong. "I shouldn't be here," I whispered. But I didn't move. He looked at me, his expression unreadable. "Do you want me to leave?" That was the moment. The one I've replayed 1,000 times since. The moment everything could have stopped. All I had to do was say yes. But I didn't. And that decision changed the rest of my life. Because what happened next wasn't just a mistake. It was something much bigger. Something I didn't understand until it was far too late. I didn't tell him to leave. That's the truth I've had to live with every single day since. Instead, I just stood there. Frozen, caught between what I knew was right and what I felt in that moment. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure he could hear it. And then he stepped closer. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just slow enough to give me time to pull away. To stop it. To come back to my senses. But I didn't move. I remember the way his hand tightened slightly around mine, like he was testing if I'd resist. When I didn't, his other hand came up, gently brushing a strand of hair away from my face. No one had touched me like that in years. Not since my husband passed. And something inside me, something I thought had been gone for a long time, woke up. "You're shaking," he said softly. "I know," I whispered. "I shouldn't be doing this." But my voice didn't match my actions. 'Cause I was still standing there. Still holding his hand. Still letting him stay. There's this lie people tell older women. That desire disappears with age. That once you hit a certain number, that part of you just fades away. Doesn't. Just gets buried. Covered up by routine, by loss, by silence. Until one day, someone looks at you like you're still alive. And everything comes rushing back. That's what he did to me. He made me feel seen. And I was weak enough to fall for it. The first time he kissed me, I remember thinking, this is insane. Not in a romantic movie kind of way. But in a real, terrifying way. Like I was watching myself make a decision I couldn't undo. I even pulled back for a second. "This is wrong," I said, my voice barely holding together. "I'm old enough to be your—" "Don't," he interrupted gently. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Put yourself in a box like that." His words hit harder than they should have. 'Cause deep down, I had been doing exactly that for years. Telling myself my life was over. That I was just waiting. But in that moment, I didn't feel like I was waiting. I felt like I was living. And that feeling, it was intoxicating. That's how it started. One moment of weakness turned into another. And then another. He didn't rush things after that first time. In fact, if anything, he was patient. Careful. He'd come by under the excuse of checking the heater. But we both knew that wasn't why he was really there. Sometimes we'd just sit and talk for hours. Other times, it went further. Every time I told myself it would be the last. And every time, it wasn't. I should have seen the warning signs. God, there were so many. He never talked much about his own life. If I asked where he lived, he'd give vague answers. If I asked about family, he'd change the subject. He didn't like taking calls around me, and when his phone buzzed, he'd glance at it quickly, like he was checking something important. Then ignore it. At the time, I convinced myself it didn't matter. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I wasn't expecting anything long-term. I told myself I was just enjoying the moment. But looking back now, that was the first mistake. Because I trusted someone I barely knew. And I let him into my home, into my life, into my body, without ever really understanding who he was. Weeks passed like that. Quiet, secret, unreal. I didn't tell my kids. I didn't tell my friends. Not that I had many left. This, whatever it was, became my own little hidden world. And for a while I convinced myself it was enough. Until the day everything started to fall apart. Began with something small. I missed my period. Now I know how that sounds. At 71, that shouldn't even be something I'd notice, right? But my body had its own rhythm. Even after menopause there were patterns. Hormonal shifts, little signs I'd grown used to over the years. And suddenly, something felt off. I ignored it at first. Told myself I was being ridiculous. But then came the nausea. Not strong, just subtle. A strange uneasiness in my stomach that would come and go. Then the fatigue. I was exhausted all the time, more than usual. I remember sitting at the kitchen table one morning, staring at my coffee, feeling like I hadn't slept at all. That's when the thought hit me. And I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. No, I said to myself. That's impossible. I mean, it had to be. Right. Still, the thought didn't go away. It lingered. In the back of my mind. Growing louder every day. Until finally, I did something I never thought I'd do again. I went to the pharmacy. I felt ridiculous standing in that aisle, holding a pregnancy test in my hand. I kept looking around, half expecting someone to recognize me. A woman my age buying something like that. Felt embarrassing. Unreal. I almost put it back. But I didn't. And now, here I was, standing in my bathroom, looking at those two pink lines. My chest tightened as the memory snapped back to the present. I sank down onto the closed toilet lid, still holding the test like it might disappear if I blinked. This can't be happening, I whispered. But it was. And suddenly, everything else hit me at once. Daniel. I hadn't seen him in over a week. No calls. No messages. Nothing. At the time I thought maybe he was just busy. But now it felt different. Now it felt like something was wrong. My hands started shaking again as I reached for my phone. I still had his number saved. I hesitated for a second. Then pressed call. Rang once. Then went straight to voicemail. Hey, it's me, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I need to talk to you. It's important. Please call me back. I hung up and immediately tried again. Same result. That uneasy feeling in my stomach got worse. Something wasn't right. I opened my messages and scrolled up. The last text I sent him. Still unread. That's when the panic really started to set in. 'Cause deep down, he knew. This wasn't just bad timing. He was gone. And I was completely alone. With something I didn't understand. Something I couldn't explain. Growing inside me. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. I just lay there in bed, staring at the ceiling, holding my phone in my hand like it might suddenly light up with his name. Never did. By morning, the silence felt louder than anything. I got up slowly, my body heavy, my thoughts even heavier. The pregnancy test was still sitting on the bathroom counter, exactly where I left it, like it was waiting for me to accept it. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed proof. Real proof. So I did the only thing I could think of. I called my doctor. Getting an appointment wasn't easy. They tried to push me to next week, but something in my voice must have told them this wasn't normal. I need to come in today, I said. It's urgent. By noon, I was sitting in that cold, quiet examination room, wearing that thin paper gown that never quite covers enough. My hands were folded tightly in my lap, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest again. When my doctor walked in, she smiled at first. But that smile faded quickly when she saw my face. "What's going on?" she asked gently. I swallowed hard. I think I might be pregnant." She didn't laugh. She didn't look shocked either. She just paused, like she was carefully choosing her next words. "All right," she said calmly. "Let's run some tests." That calmness made it worse somehow, because it meant she wasn't dismissing it. It meant it was possible. They took blood, ran scans, asked questions I didn't want to answer. "Are you sexually active?" I hesitated, then nodded. That alone felt like a confession. An hour later I was back in that same room, waiting. When she came in this time, she wasn't smiling. She closed the door behind her, sat down across from me, and took a breath. That's when I knew. "You're pregnant," she said. The words hit me like a physical force. I felt like the air had been knocked out of my lungs. "No," I whispered. That's not possible." "I understand this is shocking," she said gently, "but the test results are clear." I shook my head, tears already forming. "I'm 71 years old. I know. People my age don't just get pregnant." She hesitated again. "That's what concerns me." That word. Concerns. My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" She leaned forward slightly. "This isn't something we see naturally at your age. There are very rare medical explanations, but we need to investigate further." My mind immediately jumped somewhere dark. "You think it's not a real pregnancy?" "Yes." "I didn't say that," she replied. "But we need to rule out everything. Hormonal conditions, tumors, or..." Stop. "Or what?" "Press." She looked at me carefully. "Or external intervention." I frowned. "I don't understand." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she asked something that made my stomach drop. "Have you undergone any fertility treatments recently?" "No." "Any procedures? Hormone therapy? Anything at all?" "No," I said again, my voice shaking. "Nothing." She nodded slowly, but her expression didn't relax. "Then we'll need to do more detailed scans," she said. "As soon as possible." I left that office feeling worse than when I walked in. Because now, it wasn't just impossible. It was suspicious. And suddenly my mind went back to him. Daniel. The way he avoided questions. The way he disappeared. The way he always seemed in control. A cold feeling crept over me. What if this wasn't an accident? That thought scared me more than anything. When I got home, the house felt different. Not empty, not quiet, but wrong. Like something had happened there. Something I didn't fully understand yet. I walked slowly into the kitchen, my eyes scanning everything like I was seeing it for the first time. That's when I noticed it. The cabinet under the sink. Slightly open. I frowned. I never leave it like that. I walked over and opened it fully. Cleaning supplies. Old rags. Nothing unusual. But then I saw something small, tucked behind a bottle. Tiny plastic cap, like the kind that comes on a syringe. My breath caught in my throat. "No," I whispered. My hands started shaking again as I reached for it. I turned it over in my fingers, my mind racing. Why would that be in my house? I don't use anything like that. I never have. And then, a memory hit me. One of the afternoons he was here. I had fallen asleep on the couch. I remember waking up feeling strange, groggy, disoriented. He told me I had just dozed off. Said I looked tired. At the time I didn't think anything of it. But now it felt different. Now it felt like a missing piece. A piece I didn't want to find. My chest tightened as panic started to rise. "What did you do?" I whispered under my breath. Because suddenly, this didn't feel like a mistake anymore. Felt like something planned. Something intentional. And the worst part, I had let him into my home. I had trusted him. I had opened the door. And now, I didn't know what he had left behind. I didn't call anyone that day. Not my kids. Not my doctor. Not the police. I just stood there in my kitchen, holding that tiny plastic cap like it was something dangerous. Something that didn't belong in my world. 'Cause it didn't. And deep down I already knew that. My mind kept replaying that one memory. The afternoon I fell asleep. It didn't feel like normal sleep anymore. Felt like something else. Something forced. Something I didn't agree to. I dropped the cap on the counter like it burned my fingers and backed away. My heart was racing so fast I felt dizzy. "No, no, no, no," I kept whispering. Because if I said it out loud, if I let the thought fully form, then everything would change. But it was already changing. That evening I finally picked up my phone again and called the clinic back. "I need to come in again," I said, my voice shaking. "There's something else." The next morning they ran more tests, more scans, longer ones this time. The room was darker, quieter. The technician barely spoke as she moved the device across my abdomen, her expression tightening more and more as she looked at the screen. "Noticed. Course I noticed." "What is it?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. "Please," I said. "Just tell me." She hesitated, then quietly said, "The doctor will explain everything." That was worse. So much worse. When the doctor came in, she didn't sit right away this time. She stood there for a moment, looking at me like she was trying to figure out how to say something impossible. "Your pregnancy," she started slowly. "It's progressing unusually." My throat went dry. "What does that mean?" She pulled up a chair and turned the screen slightly toward me. "I want you to stay calm," she said. I nodded, but I already wasn't. She pointed to the image. "There is a developing embryo," she said. "But the growth rate, it doesn't match any normal timeline." I stared at the screen, not fully understanding what I was seeing. "How far along am I?" I asked. I paused. "That's the issue," she said. "Based on your last known activity, this shouldn't be possible." Cold wave washed over me. "What are you saying?" I whispered. She looked me straight in the eyes. "I'm saying this didn't happen naturally." The room felt like it was closing in. My ears started ringing. And suddenly, everything connected. The missing calls. Fake name. The way he avoided questions. The syringe cap. The way I fell asleep. "This was done to me," I said, my voice barely audible. She didn't confirm it directly. But she didn't deny it either. "We need to consider all possibilities," she said carefully. "Including medical interference." Felt sick. Actually sick. Because now it wasn't just confusion anymore. It was fear. Real fear. "What do I do?" I asked. "For now," she said, "we monitor everything closely. And," she hesitated, "you may want to contact authorities." Authorities. The word echoed in my head. But even as she said it, I realized something that made my stomach drop even further. I didn't even know who he really was. Daniel could have been fake. The number. Already dead. Everything about him could have been a lie. Which meant he could be anywhere. And I had no way of finding him. That night I couldn't stay in the house. Tried. I really did. But every room felt wrong now. The couch where I fell asleep. The kitchen where we talked. The door I opened to let him in. It all felt contaminated. Like I wasn't alone anymore. Like something had been left behind. So I packed a small bag and drove to my daughter's house. I hadn't planned to tell her anything. I just needed to not be alone. When she opened the door, she smiled at first. "Mom, what are you doing here?" But that smile faded quickly when she saw my face. "Hey, what's wrong?" I tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come out. Not at first. 'Cause how do you say something like this? How do you explain something that doesn't even sound real? I need to sit down, I said. She led me inside, concern written all over her face. We sat at the kitchen table. The same kind of table I'd been sitting at alone for years. But this time, everything was different. "What's going on?" she asked again. And this time, I told her. Not everything. Not yet. But enough. "I'm pregnant," I said. She laughed. Just like I had. Short, confused laugh. "Mom, that's not funny." "I'm not joking." The look on her face changed instantly. From confusion, to disbelief, to something closer to fear. "That's not possible," she said. "I know." Silence filled the room. Heavy. Then she asked the question I was dreading. "How?" And that's when I realized. This wasn't just my secret anymore. And the truth. It was worse than anything she could imagine. My daughter didn't say anything for a long time after I told her. She just sat there, staring at me like she was trying to decide if I was serious, or if something had gone terribly wrong with my mind. "Mom," she said slowly, "you're scaring me." "I'm scared too," I admitted. That was the first time I said it out loud. And once I did, I couldn't stop. "I went to the doctor," I continued, my voice trembling. "They confirmed it. It's real. But they said it's not normal." Her expression hardened. "What do you mean, not normal?" I hesitated, because this was the part that would change everything. "They think it might not have happened naturally." The silence that followed felt heavier than anything before it. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms like she was trying to protect herself from what she was hearing. "Okay," she said, her tone sharper now. "Start from the beginning. Everything." And this time, I did. I told her about the heater, about the cold night, about him. "Daniel," she repeated, narrowing her eyes. "That's his name. That's what he told me." "What company did he work for?" I don't know." Her jaw tightened. "You don't know." "It was an emergency number," I said quickly. "They sent him out." "I didn't think." "You didn't think to check," she snapped. Her reaction hit me harder than I expected. "I was freezing," I said, my voice breaking. "I just needed the heater fixed." She exhaled sharply, rubbing her forehead. Okay, she muttered. "Then what?" And then I told her the rest. Not every detail, but enough. Enough for her to understand that this wasn't just some random situation. That he had been coming back. That he had been in my house more than once. That I had trusted him. Her face changed as I spoke. The anger softened, replaced by something else. Concern, fear, and maybe even guilt. "Mom," she said more gently this time, "why didn't you tell me any of this before?" I looked down at my hands. Because the answer was simple. "I didn't want you to see me differently." She didn't respond right away. So I kept going. "I didn't want to be the lonely old woman who made a stupid mistake," I said quietly. I wanted to feel normal again." That hit her. I could see it in her eyes. Because for the first time she wasn't just reacting. She was understanding. But that understanding didn't make the situation any less serious. "Okay," she said finally, straightening up. "We need to think about this clearly." Her tone shifted. More focused now, more protective. "Do you still have anything from him?" she asked. A receipt. A number. Anything at all. I have his number, I said. But it goes straight to voicemail. Show me. I handed her my phone. She looked at the contact. Then immediately tried calling it herself. Same result. She frowned. That's not just busy. That number's probably shut off. My stomach sank. I figured, I whispered. She stood up and started pacing. Okay. We're not dealing with this alone, she said. This is serious. Like, really serious. I know. No, Mom, she said, stopping and looking directly at me. I don't think you do. That scared me. 'Cause she was right. I didn't fully understand what was happening. But she was starting to. This guy, she continued, her voice tight. He shows up out of nowhere, gives a fake name, keeps coming back, disappears. And now you're pregnant in a way doctors can't explain? She shook her head. That's not a coincidence. The word hung in the air. Coincidence. Or something planned. I felt cold again, like that night when the heater broke. What if he did something to me? I asked quietly. My daughter didn't answer immediately. But her silence said everything. We're calling the police, she said firmly. My heart skipped. The police. I repeated. Yes. I don't even know what I'd tell them, I said. I let him in. Stop, she cut me off. This is not your fault. Her voice was strong now. Protective. Almost angry. You trusted someone who was supposed to help you. That's it. Whatever happened after that, especially if you weren't fully aware, that's on him. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the guilt was already there. Heavy and suffocating. He nodded. Because deep down I knew she was right about one thing. I couldn't ignore this anymore. Later that evening, 2 officers came to the house. Sitting across from them felt unreal. Like I was watching someone else's life unfold. Ma'am, one of them said gently, we're just going to ask you a few questions. He nodded. And once again, I told the story. From the beginning. Cold night. The repair call. Everything. They listened carefully. Took notes. Asked for details I struggled to remember. What did he look like? Did he wear a uniform? Any logos on his clothing or truck? I closed my eyes trying to picture it. He had a cap, I said. Dark hair. Tall, maybe 6 feet. Strong build. Did you see his vehicle? I think so, I said slowly. A van. White maybe. I didn't pay attention. They exchanged a glance. Do you still have the number he gave you? The other officer asked. My daughter handed it over. He looked at it, then nodded slightly. We'll run it. That gave me a tiny bit of hope. Maybe they could find him. Maybe this wasn't a dead end. But then, one of them asked something that made my stomach drop again. You mentioned feeling unusually tired or disoriented at one point. Froze. Yes, I said slowly. Can you describe that? I swallowed hard. I fell asleep, I said. But it didn't feel normal. I just blacked out. The officers looked at each other again. That same look. Serious. Focused. We're going to need to investigate that further, one of them said. My heart started racing again. Do you think he drugged me? Yes. They didn't answer directly. But one of them said something that made everything even more real. It's a possibility we can't ignore. After they left, the house felt quieter than ever. But this time, it wasn't just quiet. It was tense, like we were waiting for something. My daughter sat next to me on the couch, her hand resting over mine. We're going to figure this out, she said. I nodded. But I didn't feel reassured. 'Cause deep down, I had this horrible feeling. This wasn't just about one man anymore. And whatever he had done, it wasn't random. It was deliberate. And if that was true, then the question wasn't just what happened to me. The real question was, why me? That question didn't leave my mind. Why me? Out of everyone. Every house. Every person he could have gone to. Why did he choose me? I didn't sleep at my daughter's house either. But this time it wasn't just fear. It was something deeper. Something colder. The kind of feeling you get when you realize this might not be over. The next morning, my daughter was already on the phone before I even got out of bed. I could hear her voice from the kitchen. Low, serious, controlled. Yes, she already filed a report. Yes, we have the number. No, that's all he gave her. He paused, then said something that made my chest tighten. Please, this isn't normal. You need to look into this. When she hung up, she turned to me with a look I hadn't seen before. Not just concern. Determination. I called the company that handles emergency repair dispatch in your area, she said. My heart skipped. And they have no record of sending anyone to your house that night. The room went silent. I felt like the floor had just disappeared under me. What do you mean? I whispered. I mean, she said slowly. No service request, no technician, no Daniel. A cold wave ran through my entire body. So he didn't just lie about his name. He wasn't supposed to be there at all. Then how did he know? I asked, my voice shaking. How did he know my heater was broken? My daughter didn't answer right away. 'Cause she was thinking the same thing I was. He didn't just show up randomly. He knew. That thought followed me the entire day. Even when the police called back. Ma'am, the officer said over the phone. We ran the number you gave us. And? Asked quickly. It's a prepaid phone. Recently deactivated. No registered owner. Course it was. Everything about him was disposable. Fake name. Fake number. No record. It was like he didn't exist. But he did. 'Cause I remembered him. I remembered everything. And now, something inside me was growing because of him. Later that afternoon, my daughter drove me back to my house. I didn't want to go. Every part of me resisted it. But the officers had asked if we could check for anything else. Anything unusual. Anything we might have missed. So we went. The moment I stepped inside, that feeling came back. That heavy, wrong feeling. Like the house wasn't mine anymore. Like something had happened here. Something I couldn't erase. Stay close, my daughter said quietly. He nodded. We moved slowly through the house. Kitchen. Living room. Hallway. Everything looked normal. Too normal. And somehow, that made it worse. Then we went downstairs. The basement. The place where he first went to fix the heater. I hadn't gone down there since. Not once. My daughter reached for the light switch and flicked it on. The dim yellow light filled the space. Old boxes. The heater unit sitting in the corner. Silent. Harmless looking. But now, I didn't trust anything anymore. Let's check around, she said. We started looking. Carefully. Behind things. Inside things. Trying to find something. Anything. First there was nothing. Just the same old basement I'd had for years. Until my daughter said, Mom, come here. Her voice was different. I turned and walked over. She was crouched near the wall behind the heater. There's something here, she said. My heart started pounding again. What is it? She reached behind a pipe and pulled something out. Small black object. About the size of a matchbox. What is that? Yes. She turned it over in her hand, her face going pale. I think, she said slowly. It's a camera. My stomach dropped. A camera. I repeated. She nodded. It looks like a hidden one. I felt like I was going to be sick. No, that's not possible. But it was. 'Cause it was right there. In her hand. Inside my house. Pointing toward. I didn't even want to think about where it had been facing. My legs felt weak. He was watching me, I whispered. My daughter didn't say anything. 'Cause she knew. We both knew. This wasn't just about what happened between us anymore. This wasn't just about the pregnancy. He had been inside my home, watching, recording, planning, and suddenly, everything clicked into place. The way he knew I lived alone. The way he knew when to come back. The way he made sure I trusted him. This wasn't random. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate, careful, calculated. My daughter grabbed her phone immediately. "We're calling the police again," she said. I nodded, but I could barely think. Because one thought kept repeating in my mind. If he planted that camera, then how long had he been watching me? Days, weeks, or worse, even before he knocked on my door. As we stood there in that basement, waiting, I felt something I hadn't felt before. Not just fear, not just confusion, but something darker. 'Cause now, this wasn't just about surviving what happened. It was about understanding who did it. And realizing something even more terrifying. I hadn't just let a stranger into my house. I had let someone in who already knew me. The police arrived faster this time. Not casual, not routine, serious. The moment my daughter told them what we found, everything changed. 2 officers turned into 4. And more. They blocked off parts of the house, especially the basement. One of them carefully placed that small black device into an evidence bag like it was something dangerous. Because now it was a hidden camera, one officer confirmed quietly. "You did the right thing calling us." I stood there, arms wrapped around myself, feeling smaller than I ever had in my own home. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely holding together. "How long was that there?" He shook his head slightly. "We won't know until it's analyzed." But his tone said something else. "Long enough." They asked us to step outside while they searched the rest of the house. Standing on my own front lawn felt surreal. I used to water those flowers every morning. Wave at neighbors. Feel safe. Now I couldn't even look at my front door without feeling sick. My daughter stood next to me, her arm around my shoulders. "I'm here," she said softly. I nodded. But my eyes stayed locked on the house. Because I couldn't stop thinking. What else is in there? About an hour later, one of the officers came back out. His expression was serious. Too serious. "What is it?" my daughter asked immediately. He hesitated for just a second. Then said, "We found 2 more devices." I felt my knees weaken. 2 more. I repeated. He nodded. 1 in the living room, and 1 in the bedroom. The bedroom. My bedroom. The air left my lungs. "No," I whispered, shaking my head. No. My daughter tightened her grip on me. "It's okay," she said quickly. "It's okay, we're going to figure this out." But I knew something in that moment. Something I couldn't ignore anymore. He hadn't just been watching me. He had been watching everything. They didn't let me go back inside after that. Said it was now an active investigation. Crime scene. Crime scene. Hearing those words attached to my home felt unreal. That house held decades of my life. Memories, family, love. And now, it was evidence. Later that evening, we were back at my daughter's house when the call came. It was one of the detectives this time. His tone was different from before. More focused. More intense. "Ma'am," he said, "we've started reviewing the device we recovered." My heart started racing immediately. "And?" Yes. There was a pause. The kind of pause that tells you something bad is coming. "We found footage," he said. My stomach dropped. "I don't want to see it," I said quickly. "You don't have to," he replied. "But we need to ask you some questions based on what we found." Closed my eyes. "Okay." "There are recordings of the suspect inside your home. Multiple times." That didn't surprise me. But what he said next did. Some of those times, you appear to be unconscious. The room went silent. My daughter looked at me, her face going pale. And just like that, my worst fear became real. He drugged me, I whispered. The detective didn't confirm it directly, but his silence was enough. I felt something break inside me in that moment. Not just fear, not just shock, something deeper. Because now I knew the truth. Some of the moments I thought I remembered, some of the things I thought I chose, weren't real. And that realization, it was worse than anything else. There's more, the detective said. My chest tightened again. Based on the footage, this wasn't the first time he's done something like this. Froze. What do you mean? We're seeing patterns, he said. Equipment behavior. This looks organized. Organized. That word echoed in my head. This wasn't random. This wasn't just me. There could be other victims, my daughter said quietly. Yes, the detective confirmed. That's what we're starting to believe. Cold chill ran down my spine. Other women. Other houses. Other lives, like mine. But why me? I asked again, my voice breaking. Why did he choose me? There was a pause on the line. Then the detective said something that made everything even darker. We found something else on one of the devices. My heart pounded. What? A file, he said. Not video. Information. I frowned. Information about what? About you. I felt like the world stopped. What kind of information? Your name. Address. Living situation. My hands started shaking again. He researched me. Yes. I couldn't breathe. 'Cause now, it all made sense. He didn't just pick me. He chose me. Carefully. Specifically. 71-year-old woman. Living alone. No one around most of the time. Easy to access. Easy to control. Easy to silence. Tears started streaming down my face. I wasn't random, I whispered. No, the detective said quietly. You weren't. After the call ended, I just sat there, completely still, trying to process everything. My daughter knelt in front of me, holding my hands. Hey, look at me, she said softly. I didn't want to, but I did. This is not your fault, she said again. I shook my head slowly. He planned this, I said. He watched me, studied me. Yes, she said firmly. And that makes him dangerous. Not you. I wanted to believe that. But the truth was, I had opened the door. I had let him in. And now, my life would never be the same. That night, as I lay in bed, staring into the darkness, one thought kept repeating in my mind. Not just about what he had done. Not just about what he planned. But something worse. Because if he had done this before, if there were others, then that meant one thing. He wasn't going to stop. And somewhere out there, he was still free. The next few days felt like I was living someone else's life. Nothing felt real anymore. Not the house being sealed off. Not the police coming in and out. Not even my own body. Especially not my body. Because every time I placed my hand on my stomach, felt it. Not physically. Not yet. But mentally. Something was there. And I didn't even understand how it got there. The detectives started coming by my daughter's house instead. They asked more questions. More detailed this time. What days did he come over? How long did he stay? Did he ever bring anything with him? Bags. Equipment. I tried to remember everything. Every detail. Every moment. But the problem was, I couldn't trust my own memory anymore. Because now I knew. Some of those moments weren't real. Or at least, not fully. There are gaps, I told them. I remember parts, but not everything. That's consistent with what we're seeing, one of the detectives said. What does that mean? My daughter asked. He glanced at me before answering. It means there are periods of time where you were likely incapacitated. That word again. Cold. Clinical. Incapacitated. Like I wasn't even a person in those moments. Just something he could control. Felt sick. Then came the part that changed everything again. "Ma'am," the detective said, "we were able to pull partial data from one of the devices." My heart started pounding. "Data?" "Yes," he said. "It looks like the camera wasn't just recording. It was also transmitting." "Transmitting?" my daughter repeated. He nodded. "Sending footage somewhere else." The room went silent. I felt a chill run through my entire body. "You mean?" I struggled to say it. "Someone else could have seen it?" "We don't know yet," he said carefully. "But we're investigating that possibility. That possibility. That someone else might have watched me. Inside my own home." I couldn't even process it. I just shook my head slowly. "No, no, no." My daughter grabbed my hand tightly. "We're going to get through this," she said. But her voice wasn't as steady as before. 'Cause now, this was bigger than one man. That same afternoon I got another call from my doctor. "Can you come in today?" she asked. Her tone was different. Urgent. "Yes," I said immediately. My daughter drove me again. Neither of us spoke much on the way. Because we both knew. Every new piece of information made things worse. Not better. At the clinic they took me in right away. No waiting this time. More scans. More tests. But this time, the atmosphere felt heavier. More serious. When the doctor came in, she didn't sit across from me. She stood next to the screen. Like she needed me to see this for myself. "I need you to stay as calm as possible," she said. "That never helps. It only makes it worse." "What is it?" "Yes." She turned the screen toward me. "There has been significant development," she said. My heart started racing again. "What do you mean?" She pointed to the image. I stared at it, trying to understand, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. And then she said the words that made everything stop. "The growth rate has accelerated beyond anything medically documented." I blinked. "I don't understand." She looked at me directly. "This shouldn't be happening this fast." Cold wave hit me. "How fast?" "Yes." She hesitated, then said, "Based on what we're seeing, this resembles a much later stage pregnancy." My chest tightened. "That's not possible," I said. "It's only been weeks." "I know," she said. "Then how?" "That's what we're trying to figure out." Felt dizzy, like the room was spinning. This isn't normal," I whispered. "No," she said quietly. "It isn't." My daughter stepped forward. "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Is this even safe?" The doctor didn't answer right away. And that silence said everything. "We don't have enough data to fully understand what's happening," she admitted. "But this is high risk. Extremely high risk." "For her?" my daughter asked. The doctor looked at me. "For both." That word hit me harder than anything else. Both. Me, and whatever was inside me. I didn't even know how to feel about that. Fear. Confusion. Anger. All of it at once. "What do we do?" "Yes. We monitor closely," she said. "Very closely. And we may need to prepare for early intervention." "Intervention?" my daughter asked. "Yes." I didn't ask what that meant. 'Cause I already knew. On the drive back, I finally said something I had been holding in this entire time. "I don't think this was just about him," I said quietly. My daughter glanced at me. "What do you mean?" I stared out the window. "He planned everything," I said. "The cameras, the fake identity, the way he disappeared." "Yeah," she said. "We know that." "No," I said, shaking my head. "I mean this." I placed a hand on my stomach. "This wasn't random." She didn't respond. 'Cause she understood. If he went through all that effort, and this was the goal. That night I couldn't sleep again. But this time it wasn't just fear. It was something else. Something instinctive. Something deep. 'Cause for the first time, felt it. Small movement. So faint I almost thought I imagined it. But it was there. Real. Froze. My hand pressed gently against my stomach. And then, there it was again. Slight movement. My breath caught in my throat. 'Cause suddenly, this wasn't just a situation anymore. It wasn't just a mystery. It wasn't just something happening to me. It was something inside me. And whatever it wasn't normal. It wasn't right. And deep down, I had this terrifying feeling that it wasn't supposed to exist at all. I didn't tell my daughter about the movement right away. I couldn't, because saying it out loud would make it real. And I wasn't ready for that. The next morning I woke up before everyone else. The house was quiet. Peaceful, in a way it hadn't been for days. For a moment, I almost forgot everything. Until I placed my hand on my stomach again. And felt it. Stronger this time. Not just a faint movement. Shift. Slow, deliberate. Like something adjusting inside me. I gasped and pulled my hand back instinctively. My heart started racing. "No," I whispered. No. This wasn't right. It wasn't possible. Nothing should be moving like that. Not this soon, not like this. I sat there, frozen, staring down at myself like my own body had betrayed me. And then, my phone rang. The sudden sound made me jump. I grabbed it quickly, my hand shaking. Unknown number. For a second I just stared at it. Something in my chest tightened. Feeling. Knowing. Slowly. Answered. "Hello." Silence. Voice. Familiar. "Good morning." My entire body went cold. I knew that voice. I would have recognized it anywhere. "Daniel," I whispered. A soft chuckle came through the phone. "I was wondering when you'd figure things out." My grip on the phone tightened. "You," my voice broke, then came back stronger. "What did you do to me?" There was no hesitation in his answer. "No need to sound so scared," he said calmly. "Everything is going exactly as planned." Planned. That word again. My heart pounded harder. "You need to tell me what you did," I said. "Right now." He ignored that. Instead, he asked something that made my stomach twist. "Have you felt it yet?" Froze. The room felt like it was spinning. "Felt what?" I asked, even though I already knew. "The movement," he said. "It should have started by now." My breath caught in my throat. "How do you know that?" I whispered. Another quiet chuckle. "Because I've done this before." The world stopped. "What?" I said, barely able to breathe. "You weren't the first," he continued, his tone almost casual. "But you are special." Tears filled my eyes. "You're sick," I said. "You're insane." "No," he said calmly. "I'm precise." I couldn't even process that. "You drugged me," I said. "You put cameras in my house." "Yes." He said it so easily. Like it meant nothing. "And the pregnancy?" I asked, my voice shaking uncontrollably. "That's not normal," the doctors said. "I know what they said," he interrupted. "Then explain it." There was a pause. And when he spoke again, his voice was different, colder, more serious. "It's not supposed to be normal." A chill ran down my spine. "What does that mean?" "Yes." "It means," he said slowly, "you're part of something much bigger than you understand." My chest tightened. "What are you talking about?" "You'll see soon enough," he said. "No," I snapped. "You don't get to say that and just disappear again. You tell me right now, what is this?" Silence. For a second. Thought he hung up. "Have the doctors told you how fast it's growing?" he asked. My heart dropped. "Yes." "Good," he said. That means it's working. Working. Felt sick. This isn't a thing, I said. This is my body. My life. It's more than that, he replied. You just don't understand yet. I don't want to understand, I said, my voice breaking. I want this to stop. Another pause. Then very quietly. That's not possible. Those words hit harder than anything else. What do you mean? I whispered. It's already too far along, he said. There's no stopping it now. Tears streamed down my face. You don't get to decide that, I said. I already did, he replied. Footsteps behind me. My daughter. Mom, she said. Who are you talking to? My heart jumped. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should tell her. But it was too late. Put her on the phone, he said suddenly. My blood ran cold. No, I said immediately. I think you should, he replied calmly. How do you even know she's here? I demanded. That's when he said something that made my entire body freeze. Because I can see you. Silence. Complete silence. I slowly turned my head, scanning the room. Every corner. Every shadow. Every object. No, I whispered. My daughter stepped closer. Mom, what's going on? My voice barely came out. He's watching us. Her face changed instantly. What? The man, I said. He's on the phone, he says he can see us. Her eyes widened. Give me the phone, she said quickly. I hesitated for half a second, then handed it to her. Who is this? She demanded. Oz. Then his voice again. Controlled. You should take good care of her, he said. She's very important now. Where are you? She snapped. What do you want? But he didn't answer that. Instead he said one last thing. Something that still echoes in my head. I'll be seeing you again soon. And then, the line went dead. My daughter pulled the phone away slowly. Her hands were shaking now too. What the hell is going on? She asked. I couldn't answer. 'Cause I was still stuck on what he said. Can see you. We both started looking around again. Desperately. Like we might find another camera. Another device. Another sign that he was still inside our lives. Somewhere. And then it hit me. Not the house. Not anymore. If he could see us now, then it meant one thing. He hadn't stopped watching. He had just changed how. My hand slowly moved to my stomach again. And right on cue. Moved. Stronger this time. Clear. Undeniable. My breath caught. 'Cause suddenly, thought hit me. Horrible, terrifying thought. What if whatever he put inside me wasn't just growing? What if it was connected to him somehow? And if that was true, then this wasn't just a crime. It wasn't just revenge. It wasn't even just obsession. This was something else. Something planned. Something controlled. Something that wasn't over yet. 'Cause he said he'd be back. And this time, I believed him. I didn't feel safe anywhere after that call. Not in my house. Not in my daughter's house. Not even in my own body. Because wherever I went, whatever I did, there was one thing I couldn't escape. It was still inside me. That same day, the police escalated everything. What was once an investigation became a manhunt. They traced the call. Or at least tried to. But just like everything else about him, it led nowhere. Burner phones. Fake signals. Dead ends. He knows how to stay hidden, one of the detectives told us. I know, I said quietly. 'Cause I had lived it. They placed extra patrols around my daughter's house. Told us to stay inside. Locked doors. Closed windows. Curtains drawn at all times. It felt like we were hiding from something we couldn't even see. But the worst part. The waiting. 'Cause now we knew. He wasn't gone. He was watching. And he was coming back. That night. Everything changed. I woke up suddenly. No noise. No sound. Just instinct. That same deep, unsettling feeling in my chest. Something was wrong. I sat up slowly, my heart already racing. And then I felt it. Not a small movement this time. Not subtle. Strong. Sharp. Like something pushing from the inside. A gasp grabbing my stomach. "Mom!" My daughter's voice came from the other room. "Are you okay?" I don't know," I said, my voice shaking. "Something's wrong." She rushed in, turning on the light. One look at me, and she froze. "What is it?" she asked. I couldn't even explain it. "I can feel it," I said. Something's happening." And then, another movement. Harder. More aggressive. Cried out. "This isn't normal," she said, panic rising in her voice. "We need to go now." The hospital trip was a blur. Lights, voices, machines, everything moving too fast. They rushed me in immediately. Doctors, nurses, questions, all blending together. When did it start? How strong is the pain? How far along is she? They didn't even know. No one did. Because nothing about this made sense. I remember the doctor's face when they started the scan. I'll never forget it. The confusion, then the shock, then something else, something close to fear. "What is it?" my daughter demanded. "Tell us." The doctor didn't answer right away. He just stared at the screen. Then finally, "This shouldn't be possible." Those words again. But this time, they felt final. Everything after that moved fast. Too fast. They started preparing for emergency intervention. Machines hooked up. Voices getting louder. More urgent. My body felt like it was working against me. Like I wasn't in control anymore. And in the middle of all that chaos, heard it. Voice. Not from outside. Not from the room. But inside my head. Faint. But real. "You're doing perfectly." My eyes snapped open. "No," I whispered. 'Cause I knew that voice. It was him. "I don't want this." Cried out loud. Doctors tried to calm me down. "It's okay, stay with us." "No," shouted. "He's here." But they couldn't hear him. Only I could. And then, everything stopped. Just for a second. Pain. The noise. The movement. Silence. Complete silence. And in that silence, one final thought crossed my mind. This was never about me. I was just part of it. When I woke up again, it was quiet. Too quiet. Hospital room. Dim lights. Machines beeping softly. My daughter sitting beside me, her eyes red from crying. "Mom," she said softly. I looked at her. Then slowly down at myself. Everything felt still. Me. "What happened?" Yes. She hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything. "It's over," she said quietly. Over. That word should have brought relief. But it didn't. 'Cause something felt wrong. "Where is it?" Yes. Her eyes filled with tears again. "They took it," she said. My chest tightened. "Took it where?" She shook her head slowly. "They don't know." The police came later. More questions. More confusion. Because the truth was, there was no clear answer. No explanation. No record of what exactly happened in that room. Only one fact. Whatever had been inside me was gone. They searched everything. The hospital. The systems. The staff. Nothing. No trace. Like it had never existed. Just like him. Weeks passed. Then months. Life tried to go back to normal. But it never really did. 'Cause some things you don't move on from. You just learn to live with. They never found him. Not a name. Not a face. Not a location. Nothing. Just a ghost. A man who appeared. Changed everything. And disappeared. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still feel it. Not physically. But something deeper. Memory. Presence. Like something is still connected to me. Somewhere. And then, a few weeks ago, got a message. Unknown number. No caller ID. Just one line. Everything is progressing perfectly. I didn't reply. I didn't tell anyone. 'Cause deep down, already knew. This was never the end. Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. For more stories like this, check out our channel and watch other videos. Visit our channel for more exclusive content and updates.